Any last thoughts you want to share about agriculture with our audience? Anything, you want to leave us with to think about?
So agriculture is the only, I would say, subject that touches every citizen of the country, whether they're interested in agriculture or not. Even the poorest person has to have at least one meal in the day.
Absolutely.
Minimum two, most of us will have, right? And that's agriculture. Okay. You have a cup of tea, that's agriculture. That little milk. Okay. You have a little sweet tooth, well, there's sugar, and that's agriculture. So agriculture is the one thing that we just cannot forget about. You may not consciously think of it, but it is impacting you. It is giving you life.
Yes.
I can live without my phone. We did. My generation had no cell phone.
I don't know about my generation, but I take a
What I understand saying that to a current teenager would be blasphemous. But there was life without cell phone, and we lived quite well. But I could not live without food.
Yes.
That means the farmer is not just producing a product, he's producing life. He's at least producing life-giving material. Therefore, I always feel that a farmer should be treated differently from a factory worker, an office worker, or anybody else who's not into agriculture. He is in the business of supporting life. Okay? What I think we have lost in the last 25 years that I was talking about is this sympathy. I would not use the word sympathy, I would say empathy. The identification of every citizen with the farmer. And part of the reason why policymakers are not paying, I'm not saying nothing is happening. Of course, there is policy. That's why, things are continuing. But let's say we are continuing on our old momentum. Okay? Today, I speak to a number of young people who respond with great impatience when I talk about these issues. Okay, so yeah, we know these issues. Why don't they just give up their land? Maybe corporates can do contract farming. They'll do it better. Like we tell you, they will not be able to do it better. They'll not. We've seen the results of corporate farming in Latin America, in Africa, and it's horrendous. It's very, very bad for the land, for water, for the environment. So I don't think that's an answer, especially not in a country like India, where if 43% of your labor, that means something like 60% of the population is dependent on agriculture living in the rural areas. So you can't wish them away and give away large chunks of land to corporates to farm. Okay? Because it's not just a food production system, it's also your default employment system. And you need to preserve it. So what I would like to see is a better image for agriculture, which will also help raise their own self-esteem. We talked earlier about the problem of the rural youth not interested in agriculture because they feel, many of them, they have gone to colleges, some of them have gone to engineering colleges, and I've met people who said, we did not reveal that we are from a farming household because people tend to look down upon you, right? And I think that's very, very dangerous for a society, any society, but certainly for a society like India. So I'd like to see, almost like a campaign, and it can't be done by the government alone. It will involve civil society, it will involve the media in a very big way. Let me give you just one, fact to ponder about. Do you recall, you're a young man, of course, but do you recall in the last 25 years, a major film around farming or farmers? You will not be able to. Maybe Lagan was the last one. Maybe you were too young.
No, I see Lagan. I do remember Lagan.
Nice. But in the 60s and 70s, the films around rural themes, agriculture themes were, prolific. And they were big hits. So you have simply wiped out the farmer from public, I would say, memory. And you only see him as somebody who's always, demonstrating on the road for MSP, protesting, pushing back against policy which he perceives, protesting against acquisition of land. I think this negativity associated with farmers and farming needs to go. And it needs to be made, if not glamorous, it needs to be accepted as something very respectable, as something very important for the country. And secondly, I think it needs to be seen as a sector worthy of huge investment and innovation. We have some cutting edge technologies that you see on the streets of Delhi, Bombay, even a small town. If you go, you see those brands, you see those, technologies on display. I was driving when I went to this Ranchi visit. I was driving down the main road, and the number of showrooms for LED TVs and of different sizes, all simultaneously playing something. It's a very attractive sight. But I have now stopped seeing a showroom for agricultural machinery on any main road, even in a state capital. Okay, you might go to a tier 3 town and you might see a tractor showroom or a agriculture machinery showroom, but you will not see them. There used to be tractor showrooms in Connaught Place when I was growing up in Delhi.
Really?
Yes,
I
the
don't even know.
tractor showrooms in Connaught Place. Escorts had a showroom where they would display and as school kids we would stand outside and gape at them. So I'm saying, can we make it respectable, if not glamorous again, and bring it back in the public memory? Third, my final suggestion, we need to create pressure for favorable policies. We simply can't say government has to think of everything. What is the role of civil society? Civil society includes media, it includes thinkers, the new generation, which you understand, quote unquote, influencers. How about some influencers pushing for agriculture, rooting for agriculture?
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Some reels around agriculture. I think we need to get it back in the public discourse. Once people start realizing how central it is to their lives and to the country's economy, I think we see change in agriculture.